Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, the show where we really try to cut through all the noise and get to what actually matters.
Digging through the data for those key insights.
Exactly. And today, well, we're tackling something almost universal, I think. Something that probably eats up way too much of your week. Professional meetings.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
The necessary evil question.
Right. Are they just a drain? Or can we actually make them work for us? If you've ever sat there thinking, when will this end? Then yeah, you're definitely in the right place. Because our mission today really is to flip that script. We're doing a deep dive into mastering meetings, everything from, actually participating well to running them effectively, even mailing those crucial one-on-ones and performance reviews.
And the source we're looking at for this deep dive, it's not just theoretical stuff, it's super practical, full of actual strategies, and maybe most importantly, specific English phrases you can use like right away. So the idea isn't just to talk about better meetings, it's to give you the tools. The things you need to actually navigate these things confidently, maybe even thrive in them, and turn them from time sucks into, well, productive sessions.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Starting with maybe the most common scenario, how you participate effectively in a meeting. Our source says, first things first, you need to prepare before you go in.
Right.
Like really think about the meeting's purpose, what others expect, and crucially, what you want to get across. But here's the interesting bit. It suggests actually speaking your points out loud beforehand. Why is that so powerful? Seems a bit extra.
Well, it might feel extra, but that's where the confidence really comes from, isn't it? When you say things out loud, you catch the awkward bits, you make your thoughts clearer, more concise. You're essentially rehearsing your contribution. So instead of just thinking you're ready, you actually know you are. You sound more polished, more persuasive. It makes a difference.
That makes sense. And it's not just about the words, is it? The guide really digs into the nonverbal side of things, body language.
Hugely important, often more than the words themselves.
Yeah, it highlights things like sitting up straight, leaning forward a bit, showing you're engaged, and keeping your hands on the table. Apparently, we only trust people when we can see their hands, which is kind of funny, but probably true.
It sounds basic, but yeah. Visible hands signal openness, trust.
And smiling genuinely, leaning in, making eye contact, these aren't just manners, are they? They're strategic.
Absolutely strategic. They build connection, rapport. Your body language shouts, I'm present, I'm listening, I'm engaged. Before you even open your mouth, it makes people more receptive to what you do say.
Okay, now this next bit really caught my eye. It feels counterintuitive. We're often told, make an impact, say something brilliant right away.
Make your mark.
But the source actually warns against that. It says, do not put yourself under pressure to make powerful, exciting contributions right away because that can be very dangerous. Why dangerous?
Well, dangerous might be strong, but risky perhaps. Trying too hard too early, you might misread the room or interrupt something important or just sound like you're trying too hard.
Okay.
It raises the question then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So what should you do instead?
Right. It's not the big splash, then what?
The guide suggests 3 really practical, low-pressure ways to participate early on. First, just agree with good ideas. Someone says something smart, chime in. I really agree with what Bob's proposing, or that's a great point. Simple validation goes a long way.
Builds goodwill.
Exactly. Second, continue a point. Build on what someone else said. To add to Belinda's idea, maybe we could also consider shows you're listening, thinking collaboratively, constructive. And third, just ask a question. Charles, could you clarify that point? Or, Jenny, can you explain what you mean by X? It shows engagement, helps everyone understand better, and gets your voice in the room without needing a powerful statement.
And the guide provides actual phrases for these, doesn't it? Which must be helpful if you're feeling a bit hesitant.
Yeah, really useful. Though you don't want to sound like a robot, obviously.
Right.
These phrases are like starter blocks. They give you a way in. Like, for interrupting politely, you could use, sorry to interrupt, David, but could I just jump in on that point?
Okay.
Or offering a different perspective. Excuse me for interrupting, but I see it slightly differently. And for giving your opinion clearly.
Yeah.
The way I see things, we might face a couple of challenges here. They give you structure.
Got it. So tools, not rigid scripts. Okay, let's shift gears. What about the person running the meeting? The pressure's really on them, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Big responsibility.
And the source says planning is paramount. It suggests spending, get this, twice as much time on the agenda as you normally would.
Wow, twice the time.
Yeah, to make sure objectives are crystal clear. And same for the attendee list. Really interrogate it. Does everyone really need to be here? It even suggests aiming for, what, 7 people or less?
Right, 7 or fewer. It makes a huge difference for focus. But how often do we actually do that careful pruning? Usually, we just invite the usual suspects.
True. It's easier just to CC everyone.
But the guide uses this great analogy. It says, meetings are like accordions. They stretch naturally to fill the allotted space.
Ah, I like that.
It really drives home the point, doesn't it? Which is why it advises scheduling the meeting for half the time you originally planned. Force that focus.
Half the time. That's bold.
It is. And another non-negotiable rule, don't start 1 second late. Not 1 second. It sets the tone immediately. Professionalism, efficiency, respect for time.
Okay, so tight agenda, tight timing, tight attendee list. But beyond logistics, the guy also talks about preparing your points as the leader.
Yes, crucial.
Yeah.
You're not just facilitating, you're often driving towards specific outcomes.
So you need to ask yourself things like, what exactly do I want to achieve by the end? And importantly, what resistance might I face? Anticipating roadblocks.
And this links directly to accountability, which is often where meetings fall down afterwards. How do you make sure things actually happen?
Good question. What's the advice there?
Create clear action items on the agenda, and crucially, assign a single person to own each one, with deadlines, no ambiguity.
One owner per action. Makes sense.
And there needs to be someone, usually the leader, who actively keeps the meeting on track, reinforces the purpose, starts it on time, ends it on time. The guardian of effectiveness, basically.
And then there's the performance aspect. It's not just about doing it, but getting better at it. Self-reflection.
Yes. Often missed. After the meeting, you need to ask yourself those tough questions.
Like what?
Like, were people actually focused? Did we stick to the agenda? And the really key one, what should I stop doing next time? Do less of, do more of, start doing, maybe trial doing. That's how you improve. Constant learning.
That's really practical. And again, the source gives phrases for the leader too, right? For opening things up smoothly.
Yep. Simple and effective. Good morning, afternoon, everyone. If we are all here, let's get started. Clear, direct.
And for keeping things on track. Objectives and timing.
For objectives. By the end of this meeting, we need to have agreed on the next steps for X, Y, and Z. Sets the expectation. For time management, which is always tricky. Sorry, but we're running a bit short on time, so let's move to the next item. Or, appreciate the discussion, but could we stick to the topic at hand for now? Polite but firm control.
Essential skills. And for closing.
A clear summary is vital. Okay, before we finish, let me just quickly summarize the main points and action items. Ensures everyone leaves on the same page.
Okay, so we've covered group meetings pretty thoroughly, but what about those one-on-one situations? Manager check-ins, performance reviews? They feel different. Higher stakes, maybe.
Definitely different dynamics, more personal. The source notes, you need to be culturally aware, adapt to your manager's style. But generally, yeah, bring your best self.
And the advice on updates and problems in one-on-ones is interesting. Don't just dump problems.
Right. Echoes that classic line, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. Or at least suggestions. Show you've thought about it. Shows initiative.
Yeah, that makes sense. Proactive.
And critically, time-sensitive issues. Don't save emergencies for your scheduled one-on-one. Report them immediately through the right channels. That seems obvious, but...
Yeah, good reminder. And it's not just problems, right? Share the wins, too.
Absolutely. Make sure your manager hears about your successes from you. Don't rely on them finding out some other way. It reinforces your value.
The guide has phrases for this, too, for, like, aligning with strategy.
It does. Things like, I'd like to better understand how my project fits into the company's overall goals. Could you share your perspective? Show strategic thinking.
Nice. Or asking for help.
Yeah, like, could you give me some thoughts on how I might get more resources for Project X? It's proactive, solution-oriented asking.
Okay. And then the performance review. Often a source of anxiety. The core advice seems to be specifics.
General statements just don't land. You need details, data, examples of how you did things.
It gives that great example about project reports. Can you walk us through that again? The basic, good, great.
Sure. So, updating the steering committee. Basic. I make project update reports. Okay, functional. Good. I create detailed monthly reports on progress and risks. Better. Adds detail, frequency. Great. Every month, I take responsibility for creating detailed reports on progress and risks. Before sending, I gather feedback, double-check deadlines, and follow up on previous action items. See the difference?
Wow, yeah. Ownership, proactivity, process. Much more impactful.
Huge difference. It shows how you work, the care you take, and the guide has similar examples for things like time management, communication, problem solving. All about adding those specifics.
That's incredibly useful advice. And finally, what about questions you should ask in a performance review?
Really important for showing engagement and ambition. Ask for feedback. What do you see as my main development areas? How would you suggest I work on them? Shows you want to grow.
Good one.
And ask about the future. Are there potential growth opportunities for my current role? If so, what should I focus on to become a strong candidate for promotion? It shows you're thinking long-term and aligning with the company.
Powerful questions. Really puts you in the driver's seat of your own development. Okay, wow. We've really covered a lot of ground today in this deep dive. From, prepping for meetings and participating with confidence to actually running them strategically and then really making the most of those one-on-ones and performance reviews.
That's right. And the key takeaway, I think, is that these aren't just abstract ideas. They're practical strategies, usable phrases, tools you can genuinely use to change how you experience meetings.
Yeah.
Applying these can lead to, well, more productive work, definitely stronger relationships with colleagues and managers, and just clear communication all around. It saves time, boosts your impact.
So as we wrap up, here's something for you, our listener, to think about. Heading into your very next meeting, whether you're joining, leading, or having a one-on-one, what's one small thing, just one change inspired by this discussion that you'll implement to make it better?
Because that's where the real transformation starts. Small, consistent changes.
Absolutely. The power really is in your hands to make meetings work better for everyone.